Have you ever inherited a model from someone and looked at it and went, holy cow, what's in here? How do I know where the data sources are even coming from? Or how many queries I have? What's used, what's not used? All these kind of things. It can take a lot of time to figure that out. And that is the whole reason that we built our collection of model sleuths. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the first of that collection, which is called our model summary report. And what this monkey does when I go and click on it is we unleash an entire army of monkeys to go through your entire data model, look at all your queries, your DAX measures, your relationships, and spit out a report right away as to what's inside your file. And you can rerun this report as many times as you want. Just be aware of this one important fact. If you are not running a full pro license, we will suppress every other line in this report. This is a report where we feel if we're generating your documentation for you, you don't really need a trial. In this case, you need a pro license. We'll give you the sample, suppressing every other line on a trial, but if you want to be generating documentation reports out of it, you do need a full pro license. So let's take a look at what we have inside here. You'll notice that we tell you how many tables, relationships, and measures you have, what the total memory is that your file is consuming as it runs. How many of those queries do we have are loaded to the data model versus connection only? So there's a total of 18 here. You'll notice that none are loaded to a worksheet, so that's good to know. All of the queries come through Power Query, and this is really good. This is one of the first things that I look for in models that get handed to me is, has anybody used direct connections, legacy connections to external data sources or linked tables? This tells me immediately that everything is going through Power Query, and that means that I can update them and change them very easily in future, which makes me very happy. So that's one of the first red flags I look for in my documentation reports. We give you a nice documentation here of all of the relationships inside your file. Now, of course, in an Excel scenario, they're all going to be many-to-one relationships because that's the only type of relationship Excel supports. But the fact that that's in here should make you start thinking, I wonder if we can run this against any other types of data models. We'll tell you if the relationships are active, their primary and foreign keys, both the tables and columns that they come from, including the filter direction. So there you go, all interesting information to summarize your relationship status. As far as your table summary stats, we list the data sources right here. So if there is a direct connection, we'll tell you right in this spot here. So it makes it very, very easy to see. You can figure out how many rows you have, how many columns you have. Are they fact or dimension tables? This is an important thing around building a healthy dimensional model. And if you see things in here like snowflaking, we would actually mark that inside this as well. So some useful stats around these pieces here too. As far as the table column stats, the reason this is here is because we list all of the individual columns, whether they are visible or not. We tell you the data types and how many unique values, because these two factors are what help drive compression in the Vertipack engine. So you would want to know potentially about how these things work if you're trying to make the leanest, most efficient model you can. You'll notice we list the column type. Is it a data column or is it a calculated column? If it's a calculated column, you'll also see the DAX formula expression right here. So with a very quick glance at your report, you can see, do you have any calculated columns in your model? And if you're like me, you might want to go hunt those down and try and figure out if you can do them a different way. So we can see all those stats are in here as well, which is great. We list all of your measures, including the DAX expressions that go with them. For reference, just in case you want to use someone else's tools to do your indentation and things like that, if I click inside this blue header or any other subsequent row, you will notice that this is an actual Excel table. We just turned off the filter buttons, so they are actually filterable. And this is important because if you're using tools like maybe DAX Studio, you might want to run their indenting algorithms across this, and there it does require that that data be in a table. So there you go. That was a user request that we had, so we actually put that in place to make it nice and easy to work with. You'll notice that we tell you what your measure names are, what tables they actually live on. Is it a fact or dimension table? It's a quick tip, you want to store your measures on fact tables, it just makes things so much better along the way. Are they explicit or implicit? Are they used or not? So if you need to clean up your models to try and make them lean and efficient, you've got a bunch of DAX measures that aren't being used, this is one way that Monkey Tools can help you find them and start cleaning things up. Notice that most of my measures are explicit here, but I've got one down here called sum of month from the calendar table, which is a dimension. So this is a red flag right off the bat. Implicit measure, it's not used. And what this is indicating to me is that somebody accidentally dragged this field. They probably clicked on it, being numeric. Power Pivot decided to create an implicit sum. Somebody looked at it and went, oops, pulled it off the pivot table. But it's still in the data model because Power Pivot just removes it and hides it. It doesn't actually delete it. So if you go into Power Pivot, you can actually view hidden measures and actually delete it from your model outright. So that's all of your measures. We also show you all of your queries in here. This is full documentation for the entire business intelligence setup you have in place. You'll notice here with loaded pencil, it is a connection-only query. It has several dependent queries, and its precedent is pulling from a SQL database at that address. Okay, so this is kind of a cool thing here is that you can actually see right where your data is coming from if you want to sit down and spend some time reading this report, tracing the lineage. And this is one of the reasons why we feel this is super valuable if you're trying to document things. This gives you all of the key information that you can find around your data model. And if you make any changes, simply go and rerun the report. It'll replace the old one and you're right up to date on your documentation for your data model. Thanks for watching this episode of Using Monkey Tools. To get your own monkey, visit our website at monkeytools.ca. Or if you subscribe to Skillwave's Self-Service Business Intelligence Academy, you'll get a free annual pro license included with your subscription. And remember, Monkey Tools was developed to support better Excel and Power BI solutions. If you want to learn how to really master these tools, you should definitely check out our full course catalog at skillwave.training.